All right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's Safeoclock Health and Safety Interactive Workshop. It's a pleasure to have us again. After last week, we had a splendid interaction. So today again, we'll be discussing behavior-based safety. So that is the topic for discussion today. And as our culture has been, we'll start with brief presentation, which could be led by any of us. So today I'm leading the presentation. So after the presentation, then it will be an open floor for everyone to contribute and share his or her own opinion and knowledge on the topic. So my name is Johnson Wala, and in the next 5 to 10 minutes, I will share a brief presentation about the topic. Then we'll open the floor for others to share their knowledge. So today we are discussing behavior-based safety. And let's look at first, what is behavior-based safety? And how is it applicable? How is it applied in a workplace? What is the major aim of adopting this strategy? And what is the advantage over other strategies that we adopt or we implement in managing health and safety in the workplace? So that is the most crucial point that we'll be looking at and what we'll be reflecting on. Behavior-based safety is an approach of managing workplace health and safety, which particularly focuses on observation, analyzing, and modifying the behavior of the workers. So behavior-based safety is talking about the approach that the management or the health and safety department would want to follow to ensure that the behaviors of the workers is modified in such a way that it will affect the health and safety culture of that workplace. That is the general understanding about behavior-based safety. Now, there are other strategies or other approaches that people has been implementing or that we have been following to achieve workplace health and safety management. But this approach of behavior-based safety focuses on humans, focuses on modifying attributes, characters, behaviors of workers or employees to achieve a safer workplace. So that is what behavior-based safety is all about. So this methodology recognizes that human behaviors plays a crucial role in workplace safety. This methodology or this approach understands that human behavior, human attributes plays a very crucial role in either the workplace has a positive health and safety culture or it has negative health and safety culture. The human behavior cannot be removed from that equation on how the workplace turns out to be. So that is why behavior-based safety is focusing on human attributes, human characters, human behaviors that will contribute to either positive or negative culture in that workplace. Let's proceed. Now, there are other forms that behavior-based safety can take, but let's look at these crucial 3 forms that behavior-based safety could take. The first one is observation and feedback. So safety observers, when you establish or implement or you set up safety observers scheme, their job is to regularly observe their workers. They regularly observe their team members. So these observers most times are part of that workforce. So during the activity, they observe their colleagues or their workers And what are they observing? They are looking at the behaviors. They are looking at some of the actions that they take. They are looking at the practices. They are looking at the safe acts and unsafe conditions that they will exhibit while carrying out that activity. Now, in that process, during that observation, they give feedback immediately, immediate feedback. It's not the feedback that will be written on the book and will be communicated later. No, the feedback is given immediately. So that is how this behavior-based safety works. The team observers, they observe an action during an activity. They observe the behavior of the colleagues or the workers during an activity, and they give immediate feedback, either positive feedback or correctional feedback. You can say, good job. What you are doing, you are getting it correctly. Okay. Then if it's a feedback that wants to drive correction, you can politely say, you are doing it this way, but this is supposed to be the right way. So observation and feedback is one of the forms that behavior safety takes. Then the other form is near miss reporting. Employees, they report near miss, they report unsafe conditions, unsafe acts, they report incidents, and these incidents are analyzed, investigated, and root causes are identified. And when they're identified, corrective actions are implemented and future occurrences are prevented. So this is another form where behavior-based safety takes. The other form that it takes is safety training and education. So implementing regular training on specific tasks or equipment operation. Now, certain trainings or most safety trainings tries to capture different topics or different scenarios at the same time. But categorizing your trainings or making your trainings specific for a particular topic drives home the point. So in behavioral-based safety form, taking safety training and education into consideration, it looks into specific tasks or equipment. So if this particular task involves, let's say, excavation. So in this form of behavior-based safety, you concentrate your training on that excavation for that particular minute or for that particular time. And it helps to drive home that particular topic. And employees, they get better understanding of that safe procedure, leading to improved behavior during the actual work. So conducting this training is, in order to correct behavior base, is supposed to be practically oriented. It should be a training that involves that activity itself and doing it, showing them how to do it, and not theory or video based, but the real activity will help to change their behaviors, change the way they were doing it before. So these are majorly the forms that behavior-based safety can take. Let's look at the basics of safety observation. Now, in behavior-based safety implementation, one of the major attributes or one of the major driving force is the observation. And in observation, the major key players there are the observers. So if the observers are not adequately trained, or if the observers are not aware of what they should be doing, then the behavior-based safety program might not be sufficient or might not be efficient. So in order to ensure that the behavior-based safety program achieves its intended results, then the observers must be adequately trained on how to use the behavior-based safety observers checklist. Okay, so the observers, like I said before, they are not majorly going to be professional health and safety personnel, but they are workforce or workers. They could be also supervisors, but they are the people that are involved in that activity. So what it means is that what they are observing, they are not going to be observing from afar, but they are going to be observing from within. They are going to be part of the team and they are going to be observing their colleagues while the activity is going on. So the observers should be adequately trained and ensure that they understand the use of the checklist and how the checklist is done. Now, the observers, they will record the unsafe acts, they will record the safe conditions, they will also record the workplace conditions. So as they're observing this, they are giving immediate feedback to the worker. Positive feedback encourages the workers. They will give positive feedback where required, and they will discuss the improvement that needs to be done by the workers. So the behavioral-based safety program is a continuous feedback loop in the sense that the feedback gets to the worker from the observer, and from that, after the feedback has been given to the worker, the feedback is collected in that form, is collected and analyzed. After analyzing this feedback or analyzing the observations, then more actions will be implemented. Either more trainings will be conducted, or further advice, further training, further observations could also be implemented to ensure that the corrections, the feedback given by the observer in the workplace were adequate to correct those behaviors. So some of the elements of a successful behavior-based safety program. The first one is the foundation. So what are you trying to achieve? The foundation is very, very important. So before you start the behavior-based safety program, you should lay a foundation of what majorly you want to achieve. And that simply talks about the activities that is going on, what has been achieved or what has been observed that is ongoing. And that thing that has been observed will form the foundation of that behavior-based safety program that we want to implement. So you'll be looking at the, let's say that there have been an increased absenteeism in the workplace. Now, you want to put out this program to identify what caused this. Why has people decided to be staying off work? Okay, now that is the foundation. You have to identify the foundation of that behavior-based safety. And then, so the next thing that have to be done is to select the observers. So the observers are the ones that gives the accurate information of what is happening in the workplace. And the observers are not supposed to be biased. They are not supposed to do the right thing today and tomorrow they do the wrong thing. So the observers are supposed to be well trained. They're supposed to be people of principles, and the observers, they make adequate impact in the workplace. So those observers, selecting the observers is one of the key factors that has to be put into consideration while implementing behavior-based safety in the workplace, because the feedback provided by the observers will affect the next action or the next proposal that the employer will have to put into consideration to improve the behavior of the workers further. Okay, then the management and the supervisors. You can't just come into the workplace and appoint observers without the knowledge of the management or the supervisors or even the site engineers or the site in charge. So they has to be involved, and they have to be critically involved from the beginning. Okay, so let's continue. So the management and the supervisors must be adequately involved in the behavior-based safety implementation, because without them, whatever the observers have observed in the workplace or whatever feedback that the observers have given cannot be adequately implemented. So there has to be involvement of the management and the supervisors. So the next element is the analysis of the impact of the behavior-based safety observations on the safety of the workplace. So after the observation has been collected, after the feedback has been collected, then we have to analyze these actions, these observations that the observers has put in place. The observations that the observers have put down. So we have to analyze the impact it will have in the workplace. So we have to do this using a targeted checklist. The checklist is not going to be a generic checklist. It has to target the audience. So behavioral-based safety checklist is not usually generic for the entire workplace. So how it's to make it more efficient or more effective, it has to be done, let's say, department by department, because most departments do different activities. So if you use a generic checklist for the entire organization, you might be missing some points. The observers might be missing some points and might be skipping some points. So it's more advisable that the checklist is tailored for each workplace or each department, if possible, each activity. So this will make it more effective and ensure that the points that are being checked by the observers are what they are familiar with. For instance, if the checklist is made generic and you have both for carpenters, you have for steel fixers, you have for scaffolders in all one form, okay, then the observer could get confused. Observer that is observing the carpentry team activity, seeing steel fixers and carpentry other activities in the same checklist might get confused. So that is why it's more advisable to tailor the behavioral-based safety checklist, observation checklist, as per activities or as per department. Then training and knowledge of the observers is something that is very, very important, because the observers are the ones feeding us with the feedback or feeding the management with the feedback. So whatever they observe or whatever they translate from the workplace into the checklist becomes what the management will work with. So the knowledge of the observers is very key. So the observers training, the observers should be adequately trained. Okay, then the other action is the hazards and behavior observation. So to observe hazards in the workplace, it means that the observers should also be aware about what is the hazard. They need to know what are hazards. They need to know the hazards associated with the activities. So if they are not knowledgeable on what is called hazard, what are the hazards associated with the activity, so they will not be able to observe these hazards or identify them as part of the hazards that need to be reported. So internal champion development during this behavioral-based safety observation. So we should identify who are internal champions. Internal champions are usually top managers or top management team who supports this program. who goes out of his way to ensure that this program is sustained. So such person can be identified as a champion. So the behavioral-based safety champion usually motivates the other management team because of his involvement and because of his contribution in the program. Then other management team or other supervisors will get involved. So that is why we identify internal behavioral-based safety champion. So you should ask for more than you tell. So this is the approach that the observers should use while collecting feedbacks. So the observers should not be the one giving out all the information. You should ask questions, open-ended questions, and allow the workers to give you the feedback. For example, you can simply ask, what are the hazards associated with this your activity? Or how did this your work go today? So you allow the worker to freely express himself and give out more detailed information than the observer giving out all the information. So then the next factor to consider is to more positive reinforcement. So about behavioral-based safety is not a program that is targeted at finding faults. Behavioral-based safety program is not a program that is targeted at finding faults. It's a program that understands that human beings are prone to errors, human beings are prone to mistakes, and human behaviors affect workplace safety. So this program tries to achieve more of reinforcement than punishment, more of positive correction than punishment or than victimization. So that is what behavioral-based safety is all about. Trying to take some actions that will help that person to change his behavior. And in most cases, reinforcement does better than punishment. So it's more advised, it's advisable to take more positive reinforcement during this behavioral-based safety approach. Okay, using reinforcement statements like congratulating the worker when he does something better, like giving safety awards, like giving motivations, even if it's just verbal motivation. So reinforcement does better in building the workers' reputation, building the workers' morale than the other forms of consequences associated with the workers' action. So this is the little I want to talk about on my presentation. Then, as we always do, so we open the floor and allow others to share their experience so that we can learn from each other. Thank you for your time. So the floor is open now. We can. Who wants to talk? Go ahead, so that all of us will not rush it at the same time.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead. Who was talking? I cannot even see self.
Can you hear me? Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
We can hear you. We can hear you, Jumbo.
Okay, so thank you very much for the insightful discussion around the behavioral-based safety. Unfortunately, I joined a bit late, so I didn't get all the information, but I think with my little experience about behavioral-based safety, I can say that the foundation of behavioral-based safety begins from values, the values individuals place on safety. So if they feel that safety is important, of course, it's going to show in their behaviors. And then it culminates from behavior, from values to attitudes, and attitudes then to behavior. And of course, those behaviors can be reinforced depending on the consequence. If the consequence is positive, then those behaviors can be learned to not repeat those behaviors that will, of course, end them negative consequences. But looking at what you said, I think the most important thing I can actually deduce is that when it comes to behavioral-based safety, we don't judge workers because we believe that nobody is actually perfect. And then, of course, the feedback that goes with it, the open loop of feedback to ensure that workers understand how well they are faring and all of that. But I just want to ask this question, and because I'm this kind of person, I'm not very comfortable with. Can you still hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so I'm not this kind of a person that is very good with this textbook approach. Now, if you take a typical construction project, for instance, I'm trying to see how I can actually marry this behavioral-based safety and every of the nitty-gritties that goes with it. No, for the fact that construction projects are actually time-bound, and there are a lot of pressures to ensure that project is completed on schedule, and we're also looking at costs and all of that. So a situation where you're looking at, okay, observers observing workers, and the question is, who should be this observer? Is it the safety officer? Is it the supervisors? Most times the supervisors are under immense pressure to deliver. And so they, because of the pressure that they are in or they are on, most times they tend to even act like the workers sometimes and all of that. So is it the safety officer that's supposed to be the observer, or the company is going to employ some
You are
body?
finished?
How do we
Or your
manage all of
network
this?
is disturbing?
The discussion is really applicable. Is it really applicable to a construction project?
Okay, I think I understood what you are saying. You are talking about realistically and how this behavioral-based safety can be applied,
Thank you very
especially in
much.
the construction industry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think you have finished, right?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yes,
So you are
I have.
asking where is how can this behavioral-based safety be best implemented in construction industry, especially in the area of getting the observers. Who are supposed to be the observers? Are they supposed to be freshly employed, or the safety officers? Okay.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
yeah, like the question you ask is a very common one, in the sense that behavioral-based safety approach is not so rampant yet. Okay. Now, it's an approach of managing health and safety that focuses on the workers' behavior, focusing on trying to impart on the behavior of the workers, which will directly or indirectly affect the health and safety culture in that workplace. Now, implementing this in the construction industry will not be different from the other industries. It's all about the willingness to implement it. And you don't just start implementing when there is no need for it, right? So in a workplace or in an organization, if it has been observed that there is an approach problem or there is a behavior-based problem that the management has sat down and decided or agreed that let us try behavioral-based safety approach to correct this the workers' behavior. Okay, so it's not something that the safety department or the safety officer just wakes up and starts implementing, especially when there is no need for it. So if in that workplace, maybe there is a consistent or repeated observation, and from that repeated observation, it is observed that it's tied to behavior, it's tied to the worker's mindset or the worker's character or the worker's approach to work. So, and it's observed that this is what can be changed through changing in the behavior of the workers. So that is where behavioral-based safety now becomes the best approach to use. And if that is agreed by the management, then getting the observers will not be a problem. Now, observers are not supposed to be new employed people. They're not supposed to be fresh people, and they're not supposed to be external people. Observers are supposed to be the teammates. They're supposed to be colleagues, part of that department and part of that work. Okay, so if it's like you are dealing with, let's say you are dealing with scaffolding team, so an observer for that team should also be a scaffolder, somebody who is familiar with the activities, somebody who is familiar with the approach of the work, somebody who can observe when the work was done well and when it was not done well. So that person is qualified to be an observer. So it's part of somebody from that team will be appointed as an observer, and he will undergo observer training and be given a checklist that will help him to observe the behavior of the workers, give feedback, and then report back to the management or to the behavioral-based safety coordinator. Okay, so it's when the need has been identified and it has been agreed upon by the management that behavioral-based safety approach will be implemented in this regard, then to get the resources will no longer be a problem because it is an management decision. I don't know if I answered you very well.
Mr. Obina, I want to add to what you just said. Yes, from what I got from what the guy was asking, you know, I got something from what he was asking. You know, in construction, actually, based on the fact that there's always this pressure to complete the job on time, you find out that behavioral-based safety, they really don't implement it. The reason because in the ideal sense, it ought to be implemented. But when you look at what's really happening, because of the fact that this job has to be completed on time, they just shun everything. In the real sense, every person that's involved in safety, because of which every person in a workforce is supposed to be involved in staying safe and practicing safety. It's good that each person is responsible, because the training we went to when we worked for Chevron some time ago, every employee was given the right to conduct eye care. In Chevron, we call it eye care. Eye care stands for eye creating awareness, diseases or exposure. So every employee was saddled with responsibility of going to site to check whether people were really working safe, checking the behaviors of people and commenting. Is there an at-risk behavior? The thumbs up of person that's working safely then it makes a record of that which he has, that I care which he has done, that behavioral-based safety observation he has done. So actually, in the real sense of it, everybody should be involved in behavioral-based safety observation, because, like they say, I care, you care, then we all should care. So that's what I was able to get from what you're saying. Because of timelines, we want to complete the job very fast. The contractor he wants to make sure that he achieve more work in less time. You find out that these things are not really being done the way they ought to be done. So in construction, actually, there's this air of let us complete the job on time and go home on time. So not much commitment is given to behavioral-based safety observation. So that's the little I could pick from him, and that's the response to what he has said.
Thank you, Omojede. Thank you for that contribution and that addition.
Yeah, I just want to add a voice to that. Yeah, I agree with all of you, and I want to say I joined a bit late, but it's a work in progress. From what the question that is being asked is actually depend on organization and people. So behavior means everything in the company, whether construction or any field. Behavioral safety means compliance, and it means how well the job is executed according to all procedure that have been set and put in place. So I would say that it is a work in progress, and it differs from organization to organization, and how the management, because if management support is not there, just as you've rightly highlighted, the job needs to be completed on time, timeline, project schedule, and the people who are supposed to be at the realm of affairs and control, the supervisors, the project manager, and all that. So we can rightly agree that if we are establishing a behavioral safety program, it has to, the success will only be determined from the top management. If top management is not in agreement with such program and its implementation, it's going to be an effort in futility. So it is very important that when a program like that is established, it should always come from top to bottom, because workers will always follow when there is management visibility and agreement to whatever implementation that is being agreed on. So I would say it is a work in progress, and it also has to be determined by the seriousness of the people who are to implement such program in terms of behavior. And when the people buy into such approach to behavioral safety in terms of how people perceive the risk and how they value health and safety, it means in whatever they are doing, they must inculcate that culture of executing the job in a safe manner, irrespective of how fast we want the project to be executed and completed. So that is just what I want to add to it, and it's a very good topic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew. Thank you for that wonderful contribution. Mr. Sumaru. Sumaru, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. It is very interesting topic. I just wanted to focus on factors that can influence behavioral-based safety programs. Because on the presentation, we have already given the foundation, the element we need to look at. The factors we need to consider before we put in place a behavioral-based safety program, as our colleagues have said before me, start from organizational culture. We need to check the organizational culture before putting in place a BBS program. Why? Because if we want to implement this type of program in an organization where the culture, the health and safety culture is low, it is already a failure from the beginning. So we need to ensure that we have a good health and safety culture in the organization, which means that in this organization there is no culture of fear. We need to beat the culture of fear in the organization before starting this type of program, and we need to ensure that we have built an environment of trust between workers and the top management, which is very important. Because if workers doesn't trust the top management, this type of program can be a failure. The second factor that might influence this type of program is the availability of resources. You need to ask yourself, do I have enough resources to carry out this type of program? They have my management support. They give me all what I need. Resources is not only about money. This can be time, enough time, and people that is going to be your observer. This is very important. Now, talking about people that is going to be observer, the one of the best way to have a successful PBS program is to involve workers. This is very important. As you said, we need to select carefully our observers. During our selection procedure, we can identify some workers, give them effective training based according to the program we want to implement. Make sure these people are good observer. Then we involve them in the process because workers trust each other. Okay. Imagine if it is a worker that is coming to a fellow colleagues to observe his activities, do interaction, get feedback, how it's going to be. They trust each other. They feel comfortable when they are talking to each other more than a top management representative who is going on site to them. Okay, this also influence very well because if they see top management, this is sign of commitment and leadership. But having workers involved in this type of program can be a success for the program. Another thing that might affect also is cultural diversity and language barrier. For example, you want to implement this type of program in the organization that have different nationality, people are speaking different language. So during your planning process, you need to consider this aspect. Selection of your observer, you need to consider, okay, I have this type of in my on my project. This group don't speak this language. For example, you on your project you have French speakers, English speakers, Arabic speakers. Some doesn't even speak none of those languages. They speak only local languages. So your observer need to be selected and dispatched based on the activity, as it has been already said earlier, but also based on the audience, people that they are going to meet, their education level. All these aspects need to be considered if you want to get to be successful in implementation of this program. Another thing also you need to consider is barrier of uh, barrier of change. In some organization, people are allergic to changes. If it is your first time, for example, for implementing this type of program, people will be like, "We are not used to this. What is this again?" So they will not cooperate. There is much chance for them to not cooperate. So you need to consider this factor of barrier of change. Are they going to adhere or not? Do a study on this before you start implementing. So these factors are some of the factors you need to consider during your planning stage for implementing this type of program. Thank you very much. This was my only little point I have for all of us today. Thank you very much. And again, I'm very proud of this presentation and the topic. It is very interesting topic. The area is very wide. It can look easy when we talk about it and when it is on document, but believe me, in implementation, it is something very interesting and difficult. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samaru. Thank you for
Okay.
your contribution, and thank you for your in-depth knowledge you shared with us. We really appreciate. Go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. Good evening, everybody. This is a very interesting topic. Honestly, I've been listening to everybody, and we seem to be saying some things that are very similar. That shows that we are all on the same page, and these challenges are common to all of us from our different work zones and work areas. And of a truth, implementing this behavioral safety on site is not as easy as it is on the book. As we all know, it is part of the management system program. It's a tool, it's a working tool that is used to see how they can improve the health and safety on the site. So as much as it is, there has to be a PDCA approach. By PDCA, I mean plan, do, check, and act. Okay, so one thing I know about this is that practically there is going to be a resistance to change. Change in the way people think, change in the way people act, change in the way people respond to these things, because many people are coming with diverse kind of cultures, diverse kind of mentality. They are coming with different knowledges from different sites. They are recruited to do a job. So the way some people approach some things on the site is different from the way others will look at it. So I mean, there is this certainty that there will be a resistance to change. Okay, some employees will be very skeptical. Are these people trying to sack us? Are they trying to do what they will give us query? What are they trying to do? You know, there's always this skepticism from employees. And then when this happens, you see a lot of employees will begin to draw back. They will not want to be involved in this strategy or this tool for effective site coverage. Another thing is fear of the criticism. Most of these observers that will be selected, or even if they bring in somebody familiar in the team to be the observer, the person might, because of fear of victimization or fear of criticism, the person may hold back some certain information or certain observation that might be useful for, developing this kind of feedback to the management, because people become afraid. If I say this thing, won't they expose me? Won't they say I am the one reporting management? Now it will look like it is the observer that is reporting the workers to management. So privacy should be ensured. If they want to do this, if top management want to do this kind of, implement this kind of work tool on site, it means they have to assure the observers or whoever they are going to select of their privacy. They are going to ensure that they are not going to let their name out when they start doing the measurement or when they start working on the feedback. So it's very important. And then management should not also hesitate. This is one factor that kills everything, that destroys all the efforts. When you observe something on site and when you report to your management and they don't take action, there is this hesitation in taking, it kills not just the morale of whoever is doing the reporting, it also destroys the effectiveness of the system. That is just one thing most organizations suffer. Lack of top management commitment is very, 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 I mean, top management commitment is very key. If top management are committed and they are following up on everything that is being reported, follow up on the feedback, give actions on the implementation strategies, then they will see that this whole thing will flow well. And then lastly, for me, I think there should be a fairness and transparency in the measurement and reward system to be put in place by top management. We should reward people who are actually reporting unsafe condition or safe acts on site. Reward people who are intervening on unsafe practices on site. If there is a good reward, measurement and reward system, it will encourage people to want to do more. It will encourage people also to want to see that, okay, management eye is on this thing. This issue is not something that will support production. This issue can tamper with the production, with the construction rate. People will see that the need for them to participate actively in this thing if the management are being fair in their measurement and reward. Let them not reward somebody because my brother is the site manager or my sister is the site manager or the site director is my boyfriend or the site director is my girl. You know, if there is a transparency in the reward and measurement system, I mean measurement and reward system, it will go a long way to encourage people. So to wrap up my point, there will always be a resistance because this is a change from the norm, a change from the mentality of people. So we should expect this kind of things to happen. Fear of criticism. People will be afraid that if I observe and I make my reporting, people will spot it out and then I will become an item of target. Management hesitation and fairness in measurement and reward system is key because if they don't show that commitment, if they don't show that transparency, people will begin to see the gaps in this attitude. People will begin to see the gap in this system, and before you know, there will be a lot of drawback, and that system will not succeed. So this is just my own contribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Henry. Though there were some holdbacks in your voice, but all your points are well noted and they are very articulated. So thank you very much for that wonderful contribution. Mr. David, your hand is up. Go ahead.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you to yourself and those that have commented on the subject so far. Mine is not actually a contribution. I want to ask a question, and the question is open to everyone on the call. Anybody could answer to the question. And I'm drawing this question from the last speaker, which is I think Henry spoke last. So just for clarity, we know that in most organizations, most system, we apply the safety observation card, which we refer to as a UAUC card, right? I believe everyone is familiar with that. It's a tool that we use to raise observation for unsafe behavior, which is at-risk behavior, and also for unsafe condition. So, and I've heard almost everybody speaking about the behavioral-based safety observer, also utilizing some tools, to make up their observation. Is the UAUC card, all right, a behavioral basic tool, or is a different program initiative entirely? So that's what I want to get clear. That's my question. Is the UAUC observation card too? Is it a BBS too or not? And with reasons why you think it is or why you think it is not.
Okay, I will add little before that's real, start.
All right.
The observation card that we are implementing almost in every workplace is not a behavioral-based safety tool. Okay, behavioral-based safety checklist is actually different. Okay, it focuses majorly on the actions of the workers. The that checklist is looking into the worker. Did he follow what he's supposed to do? Did he do it rightly? Did he use the right tool? Did he use did he follow the procedure? Then it looks into his countenance also, his expressions, his response. Okay, so that is what the behavioral-based safety checklist is mostly capturing. Okay, then the observation card checklist or observation card that we use is a different tool, but both of them are doing the same thing. And just like I said, behavioral-based safety most times is not a generic application. It's always undertaken when there is need or when it was observed that there is need to work on the behavior of the workers. And most times, if the behavior has been improved, the feedback suggests that the behavior has been improved, it can be, the program can be concluded. Okay, it can be a time-based program. It can be said maybe we'll do this behavioral-based safety program for 3 months or for 4 months with a target of turning around the behavior of the workers. Let's take, for instance, we have observed that there is increase in smoking related incident, or maybe there is increase in the attitude towards smoking in the workplace. Maybe people smoke at different locations, not following the smoking designated area. So we have observed that there is this attitude that is very unsafe, that if left unchecked could lead to a fire break or maybe other emergencies in the workplace. So we now decided to implement a behavioral-based safety targeting this particular observation. Okay, now if we are targeting this particular situation, then our checklist will be configured or will be developed focusing on these situations. Okay, focusing on how the workers react to these situations. Then that is why I say that it's different from our observation card that is there. It's generic and it's not targeted on a particular cause, on a particular behavior. So I will also allow others to add their perspective on this.
There's a question for you, Mr. Nwala. Check the chat box.
It's not question.
Please.
The person is answering this question, I think.
It's Mr. Jumbo. I just wanted to add, and then
No, this is not targeted at just one person. No, behavioral-based safety is not targeted at
ask my
one
question.
person. It's
I wanted to.
targeted.
So I want to know if I have the.
It's targeted to everyone, but it's targeted on a particular behavior. Okay, if that behavior is becoming rampant, almost everybody is keen into it. So behavioral-based safety could be targeted on that behavior to change it. Okay, to try to improve on it. Okay, Mr. Jumbo, I think if you want to add to what Mr. David have said, let's clear that one then. Go ahead.
Okay, so thank you very much for the responses. But I just want to respectfully, to an extent, disagree a little. The question he asked was if BBS, if the UAUC, that's the Unsafe Act and Unsafe Condition cards we raise, is actually a BBS program. So just like you rightly said, you said outrightly that it's not a BBS program. But I want to say that it's actually is actually a non-structured and more like what's it called, an informal BBS program. Now, if we really take a look at the meaning of an unsafe act, we can say that an unsafe act is an action taken by a worker or group of workers without due regards for their personal safety and others. So it tells you that is a behavior that actually is actually an attitude. There's a trigger, there's a prompter that actually makes workers behave the way they behave, or that actually produces the unsafe behaviors, unsafe acts in the workplace. So I would want to say that the unsafe act, unsafe conditions, or UAUC cards is an informal and unstructured BBS program because it looks at the worker's behavior in respect or relation to health and safety in the workplace, and then we report it. Although it might not be comprehensive, which is why I said is an informal, because it doesn't look at the processes in this case.
Hello.
And then most times another challenge with it is in of, can you hear me? A lot of workers don't have understanding of what the UAUC cards should be. Probably somebody not wearing his hard hat, his scaffolder not anchoring off his fall arrestor and all of that. So, but if we take it holistically, it goes beyond that, and that's why I want to say that is an informal BBS program. So, thank you very much. So, my question is this: I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so my question is this: how do we really? Because I've had experiences working with I've worked with Koreans, I've worked with Lebanese, I've worked with Indians as well. And my experience tells me that these people, when it comes to safety, is not really a priority. Because if you look at any company that has been headed by either a Lebanese, a Korean, or an Indian, there are usually safety culture issues. So the question I want to ask, how do we actually drive, let's say you're not an Indian, you're not a Pakistani, you're not a Lebanese, a Nigerian or an African, and you get a job in a company as a HSC manager, and how do you really convince this folk BS program in such companies? Thank you very much.
I think, let me answer your question, Gilbert. The truth is that if you work with this kind of people that do not take safety as a priority, and they are the top management, in fact, let me be very clear. Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me very well?
Yes, we can hear you.
I can
If
hear you.
Good. If they are the majority of the top management, then there is trouble. Honestly speaking, there is trouble. Because of a truth, most of these people, their mentality is production, 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 and more production. They don't want to know what will, even if you stop a job that is worth stopping, they would even query you why you are stopping the job. So for me, I think the best way to work with this person is they will have to, if you are in charge of a job and you have done the risk assessment of that job, and you have seen that that job is a high risk job, and there are, as a safety advisor, you have advised them on what to do that will make the job go safe. If they still want to go ahead and do that job, you don't have to argue with them because they pay your bills. You don't have to argue with them. What you just simply do is to ask them to take a commitment. There is what they call commitment, safety commitment form. You give them the safety commitment form to take, because that is it. If they must go ahead and do that job, then they have to take a commitment and say whatever happens in the course of doing that job is invested on them and not you, because of a truth. If anything happens and if you allow that job to go on under your own watch and anything happens, it's going to be a tough decision, because you may not only end up to be sacked for incompetence, you may get arrested. It depends on how severe that incident could be. So it's very difficult. You see, this question is a very difficult and technical question to answer because of a truth. This set of people you have called are really tough when it comes to health and safety. But you can always find a way around working with them. Tell them to make commitments. Tell them to take commitments on anything that comes out of an unsafe job they are forcing you to do. That's the truth. And if you try some of these logics and it don't work, my brother, the best thing to do instead of you to dent your professional career, the best thing to do is to resign and look for somewhere better. That is just the truth. Because if you if you say, oh, what will I do or where will I go, there is no job, you continue with this kind of persons, it's going to be very risky for you, and it's also going to be very risky for your career. That's the truth. So you give them the commitment form to fill, and if anything happens, they take responsibility. And even in the court of law, that document is a legal tender. You can snap it and keep it in your phone. Thank God for Android phones, so that whatever happens, they take commitment. That's it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with that, and I just want to contribute a little bit. Yeah, see, in organization, we face a lot of these people. I've had a first-hand experience in organization where they don't take any shit about safety. In short, the laborer can even slap you and beat you. So how do we cope with this kind of situation? You have given a very good highlights about all this. You, as a health and safety professional, sometimes you set the rules. You set rules. You must not do this. You must not do that. You commit people, and believe me, when just as the speaker just said now, when you commit them, they run away from responsibility. There are a lot of strategies you can employ. And when it gets out of hand, I've worked in a site where Lequia have to come sometimes. I mean, the police, they have to come to sites, they have to do. But after a while, rules were set. Many of the safety officers resigned. They resigned from the work because they could not face it. Where you have physical altercation, nobody is following the project management. They don't want to follow safety rules and all that. But we stood our ground, and more Africans were hired in that project just to make sure that this book. So everybody bring their idea. We set a lot of rules. Then over a time, just as I've said before, it's a work in progress. This behavioral safety thing is a work in progress. So with ideas, with a lot of rules we set at the time, compliance were improving. So I really agree with the what you just said now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andrew. Thank you for that wonderful contribution. And in addition, my brother, it's not only, there are other nationalities that I don't want to go ahead and mention that their own is even worse. If you work with that nationality, when it comes to implementing safety, they will claim that they don't even understand English. They will claim even the most educated among them will decide to speak only his language and tries to hide away from safety implementation. So it's a situation that many of us have faced in the past. And what I usually advise in that kind of situation is, first, you must not say because it has become a norm, then when it happens, you will not talk. No, always raise an issue about it. That is one thing that keeps us apart. That is one thing that keeps we Nigerians or Africans in the safety profession in this part of the region. That is what keeps us apart, because even though we know that you will not agree, we know that you will not succumb, but we have to also put up a fight. Okay, we also have to try to stop the work. We have to take an action that will justify that we have done something. So we don't we don't usually say that engineer is like that. He doesn't always agree. No, we always try to enforce the rules. And in that process of trying to enforce the rules, you are creating a scene, you are creating an evidence, you are also creating you are doing your own job. You are putting up an evidence that you have done your own part, that you try to enforce the safety rules, but this person refused. And in addition to what Mr. Henry said, you put up a document, and with their arrogance, they will always sign. They will tell you, yes, it's my job, I will do it. They will sign, and when that is done, you are sure that you have done your own part. So, and if it becomes unbearable for you, just like Mr. Henry said, everyone starts looking for a better place. So that is what I will advise. Don't just conclude that they are used to unsafe act, they are used to unsafe condition, they will not listen to me. No, always put up a fight. The fight you are putting up may not usually be the solution, but it's creating an evidence and an action plan for you that can justify tomorrow that you did something. Okay, so that is what I want to conclude.
Quickly, I want to add something to you, to what you have said, Mr. Nwala, quickly before we go. Sometimes there are no documents like that are company documents that are being prepared. Of course, everybody know that commitment is something that most people run away from, just like Sobrico, Mr. Sobrico has said. So when it happens like that and it gets to that extreme, my brother, the next thing you do, that there was a permit raised for that job, right? If they are not doing what is on the stated on the method statement, or they are not following, I mean, they are not following what's on the method statement, and they are not implementing what the job hazard analysis or the risk assessment has said, you withdraw the permit. The permit is your how will I put it? Is your weapon, is your constitution. Let me put it in that manner. As a safety person, you withdraw the permit. If there are no documents to sign, you withdraw the permit. A job cannot be done. A job that is not a routine job cannot be done without permit. You withdraw the permit and go back. If they do the job and anything happens, what happened? Where was the permit? Permit was withdrawn. Why was it withdrawn? Because the safety man said the job was not followed according to the method statement and the job hazard analysis. Case closed. You have indicated. That's it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Mr. Valentine, go ahead, please.
Good evening, all. It's been a very wonderful discussion from all parts from everyone, especially the last few speakers. They have been very detailed in explaining what they felt was the understanding for behavioral-based safety. Now, there are two aspects of this story now, which we have here. And I'm just going to make it short so that we don't eat much of your time. The second part, let's start with the second part. I think people digressed a little bit into responsibilities, accountabilities, and roles. And this has to do with site management responsibilities. There are certain actions you have to take if somebody is not doing the right thing. And I think this stems from the fact that what you all know about when it comes to moral, financial, and legal consequences. Don't try to make it look like a hard work. It's not. Just simply tell whoever is not doing the right thing, tell him that he will be legally held accountable. And I think as per all job roles and responsibilities across the country, there are always safety parts included in site management roles and responsibilities and PM roles and responsibilities. I've seen a situation where an accident happened and the first guy to be picked on site was the PM. The second guy was the site manager. Now, okay, the safety guys have their own responsibilities. However, the safety cannot work in isolation. So what I will tell you, please don't make things difficult for yourself, because you don't want to start going on a fight here or there. If someone is not listening to you, simply tell him, as per his roles and responsibilities and his job, tasks, and targets, he will be the first line to be held legally accountable. So in case somebody drops down from working at height or falls from somewhere else or get electrocuted, his action or his inaction will tell. People don't get paid huge money to be a PM or a site manager for nothing. It is like responsible and accountable for every person within that area. So just do it that way. Don't make life difficult for yourself. You can keep records if you need to keep records, but simply explain to him and be sure he knows during his induction and during his toolbox meeting and his health and safety meeting and his progress meeting that he is legally accountable. So if he plays with his job, he will do some time in somewhere else. Now, coming back to the point of behavioral safety, I've had a lot of discussions on this, and I totally agree with most of you. However, we need to be very clear. Behavioral safety or behavioral-based safety should not be taken as a normal work activity. We should separate normal work activity like UAUC, unsafe acts, near misses from behavioral-based safety. Johnson has earlier highlighted behavioral-based safety would only be necessary where there is an issue. And this is why when we started the behavioral-based safety implementation about 2002, 2003 in sub-Saharan Africa, we started with this of looking at the culture. What is the issue? When we look from reactive, we do an assessment. If there are accidents or incidents that have happened, you check the root cause analysis. From the root cause, it will tell you whether it's a skill-based error, it's a mistake, it's a slip, it's a lapse. That is where you need to look out for. If it's a management problem, this is something else. But if it is error, slip, mistake, lapse, then of course, this is where we need to focus on. Then the next part is, just give me a sec, please. The next part is, well, once you identify that there's a problem, then you do an assessment. An assessment is where you take a checklist, just like what Johnson has said, and then you run through the process, finding out what you need to do to improve, either moving from reactive to calculative to proactive and generative culture. Generative culture is the best culture. Once you have a generative culture, you don't need to do any improvement. You just only need to monitor and try to keep it the best way it is. Another thing again is that let's not just begin to look at behavior-based safety is a tool designed to prevent people from making mistakes. In fact, in other words, it's called things that you roll out to ensure that people are naturally motivated to doing the right things, always without compulsion. So let us separate behavioral-based safety from normal working activity. Behavioral-based safety becomes necessary where there's a problem or there's a need to improve. And I'm sure that we all have the same mindset. And once we walk around this, it's going to be perfect for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Valentine. It's always a pleasure to hear from you and hear your contributions. So
you're most welcome. And thanks to the entire team. This team has been, I think this is the first time I've seen people coming up with innovative ideas and solutions and challenges. And it's wonderful having this team. It shows that we are going places and we know what we are doing. Only that with a little bit of effort and support, we would be at the peak. And the most important thing is that, guys, please, I've been around for a long time. No matter what, you should not have an accident on the work site. Do everything practically possible, because when you do have an accident, then the law applies, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's very unfortunately.
Mr. Johnson,
Sumaro
has been, his hands has been up.
I don't want him to dislocate his shoulder.
I don't want him to dislocate his shoulder, please.
Yes, his hand is already penning him. Go ahead.
No, thank you very much. I'm satisfied with the last speaker, Mr. Valentine. Thank you very much for the input. in my culture we say that he stepped on my tongue, because what I wanted to emphasize is what he have widely developed. Thank you very much. We really need to differentiate the BBS program from our routine activities. It is different, because we need to understand that when it comes to health and safety management system, we have a lot of things that consider human factor. And when it comes to human factor, we talk about behaviors, of course. So our daily inspection, we consider behaviors of workers, how they do activities, how they implement this, how they implement that. We have something we have planned, and we have program we are implementing on site. And who is implementing this? Of course, people are implementing it, right? So we need to monitor these people behavior to see how are they implementing all this program we have planned and we try to put in place. This is our normal routine activity, but it is when we have identified situation, we have a specific situation. As he said, it can come after an incident. When you finish your investigation, you see that your system is not having problem, but it is a human factor. Then from this human factor, you decide to do a behavioral based safety program. So please, we have a lot of normal routine activity we are doing that take into consideration. It doesn't mean because we are doing behavioral based safety program that we should not look at human factor or behavioral aspect when it comes to our normal activity. No, these two things are different. We can be doing our normal activities considering human factors, but that doesn't mean that we will not take into consideration this BBS program when it is needed. This is what I wanted to emphasize. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Samara. Thank you. That is well taken note of. Thank you all. I really appreciate our contribution today. At initial stage, it was as if everybody was waiting for who will start the discussion. But later stage, everybody was on fire. So I appreciate us. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your knowledge shared with us. Thank you very much for joining. We are growing. Today, we are more than 17 attendees. So we are growing, and I'm sure that the knowledge we are spreading is also cutting across everybody. So thank you guys for joining. Next week, we'll meet again
Mr. Anwala,
virtually.
quickly, just because before there is somebody I really want the person to talk on this. Mrs. Amara, are you following? Because she's a greenhorn in HSC. She's a greenhorn, so I don't know if she's following this at
Is
all.
she the Amara in Nigeria Institute of Safety Professionals? There's one lady that was elected recently that her name is Samara. Okay, maybe she's not nearby at the moment.
It's okay, no problem.
Yeah. So next time. So guys, see you next week. Do have a blessed day.
Interesting topic today, and very challenging questions. And I wish we have more of these questions. The answer that the last speaker gave, Mr.
Thank
Valentine,
you very much, Mr. Johnson.
was a
Thank
very,
you,
very
Mr.
critical
Johnson.
one
Thank
that
you,
I
Mrs.
believe has
Wanga.
answered
Thanks to
questions
everybody.
to so many of us.
Thanks to Mr. David as well. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to everybody.
Mr.
Appreciate
Johnson
the
just
time.
laughing.
All right, guys. Thank you, and see you next week, please.
All right. Bye. See you.